Here you are misusing funds. Here the funding that ought to be, because you see, as a senator, it's not my business and it is not my part of my constitutional mandate to plan for how the budget will be utilized. I fight for the money to come. When the money comes to Tana River County, it is the responsibility of the governor to make sure that that money goes to health, that money goes to the roads that they are responsible for, basic education, it goes to the salaries and all that planning. But then after that, the Auditor General comes and makes a report. And that report is the one that we do oversight. We call it secondary oversight. The primary oversight is supposed to be with the MCAs. The secondary oversight is supposed to be with us. And we try to do the best we can. But every time you are doing real-time oversight, like you visit a hospital and you visit a market that is being constructed to show that maybe there's no value for money, the governors are up in arms. So, in terms of going forward, I really want to emphasize this, that our county governments, for them to sustain development, they must allow proper oversight. They must not look at the Senate as enemies. They must not look at members of county assemblies as enemies. These are the people who are telling you, look, we allocated this amount of money for sports. There's nothing happening. We allocated this amount of money for health. There's nothing happening. I mean, I've just come from a fight with my governor because in the 2024-2025 budget, we allocated 18.6% of the budget for health. That comes to something like 1.23 billion that goes to that. And then when you look at what our people are saying, there's nothing going on with the hospitals. Yesterday, Honorable Governor, His Excellency Kenyatta here, was demonstrating how in Murang'a County, he is able to tell, using digital technology, how many people have gone to hospital, even as he's sitting here, what diseases they are being examined for, how much, medicine has moved from the pharmacies across Murang'a County, where the vehicles are. This is where we should be going. And I really want to agree with Honorable Millie that we need to be honest, and transparency must be 100% in governance. And the only way is to use digital technology so that we are able to tell governors must stop thinking this money is theirs. They must think again that what this money came for is for the people. And they must also agree with us when we say Kenyatta is doing a good job, because we are able to see how many vehicles, he was here yesterday, how many vehicles are in the county, which one is parked at a bar. So even the drivers have behaved properly. Even the rate of accidents, county vehicles has reduced because of transparency. So, in terms of sustaining the development, I think we need to have a reset in our minds. Senators are not here to fight you. Members of county assemblies are not fighting you. We are doing something called oversight, which is to simply ask the question, Your Excellency, the Governor, you allocated 650 million for water. There is no water project. Where is the money? So I think we need to have a reset in our minds. I really think that if oversight mechanisms are properly applied, then the counties will start being accountable for the monies that come to them, and these systems will sustain themselves. And let me say something about human rights at the county level. Most governors do not like human rights defenders. They don't like them because these people are the ones who go and tell them the truth. They are the ones who file petitions in county assembly to ask questions, you know, and they don't support them. So what can governors and the county assemblies do? We in the Senate, we receive the petitions that say, oh, our land has been taken, oh, this has been done, and we have done our bit. Even yesterday, we went here to Ndiwa, hapa kwa hii sukari's industry, to go and look at our committee on lands, to look at issues on pollution after we finished here with the official opening. We are doing our bit, but the important bit, I think, is to support those human rights organizations. We should have a budget that says we are going to support CSOs that are talking about women rights in Tana River County, children rights in Tana River County, something like that. But governors across the country, they are not bothered with human rights people operating in this space. So for me, I am making an appeal that at the county level, we need to reset our minds. We need to say that we are all working together for the people. And then we need to be inclusive by helping the CSOs to come into government space by saying, you know, supporting the civil society organizations to be able to say what they see so that we can improve. When you tell me your trouser is not ironed, it doesn't mean that you don't like me. Governor, I'm just telling you, iron your trouser next time. Isn't that so? If I tell you your shirt is creased, I'm not saying I don't like your shirt. I'm just saying iron your shirt the next time. So let us have a reset so that at the county levels, we include the civil society organization. We work with the members of the county assembly. We work with the senators. Many senators may not be running for governorship. And so we should not look at senators as people who are threatening you. No, we are simply doing our work. And I think that attitude, if it's accepted, we are going to have stronger counties. We are going to have better human rights records within the counties, and we are going to have stronger civil society organizations. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think one of the conversations that is obtaining is the place of transparency, accountability, to be able to uphold constitutional rights. And now I want to turn to you, Khalid, as a prominent practitioner in human rights and civil society, in the civil society area. If you could very, very quickly tell us, the relationship you've had with counties, as Bwana Mungatana said, seems to be very adversarial. Is there any way we can be more intentional in working with county governments to be able to pursue these rights and to ensure that Kenyans can get socioeconomic rights? Very, very quickly, sir.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. And it's a pleasure for me to be here. Thank you to Council of Governors for giving civil society and human rights practitioners at the grassroots an opportunity to share our thoughts on this very important subject. It's true what Senator Mungatana has alluded to, that in many counties today, county governments perceive civil society as an enemy. And all we do is to play our role as civil society, as NGOs, as CBOs, as social justice centers. We have a responsibility to hold those in power accountable. And that responsibility has even become more pronounced, especially when traditional institutions that are meant to also support in holding leaders accountable are not doing that anymore. From the grassroots to, the national level, we are seeing institutions eroding their public trust. And as civil society, we've continued, number one, not just to hold those accountable to book, but also those who are supposed to supervise to also do the same. So even as we speak, we know the responsibilities of the Senate. The Senate has a duty to ensure accountability, as the Senator has alluded to, the secondary responsibility. We hold the opposition also to account because they also have a duty. And when you're a party in opposition and then you decide to go to bed with the government of the day, you are diluting your responsibility as an opposition party. So we also have to hold those institutions accountable. And for me, I think when we adopted the new constitution in 2010, devolution was a promise that everyone had so much hopes in. Unfortunately, and as we make reference to the Auditor General's report, you will find that that promise has somehow turned into plunder. Every other day, every year, you hear of mismanagement of resources, ghost workers, unaccounted or unsupported expenditure. And this is something that as civil society, we are very, very worried about. And we feel that devolution can play a bigger and better role than what we are seeing currently. County governments have the primary mandate to deliver on Article 43 of the Constitution. You know, socio-economic rights. This new constitution made the right to healthcare. Gave us the healthcare as a right to food, right to clean water, and all these things. And these are supposed to be delivered primarily by the county governments. That's why for us, we are very much, zeroing down on county governments because the promise was with those county governments. And when we see in the streets, dilapidated infrastructure, we are not seeing the promises that were made, then we get extremely, extremely frustrated. And it's not just civil society, it's the population out there. Many people feel that, county governments are not delivering on their mandates. Every time you go to county governments, the services are never there. You find that county governments mainly divert resources either to governors' homes, to county executives. It becomes a pool or a party for a few to benefit from the county government resources. But the larger population remains unserviced or, not truly getting the fruits of devolution. So we feel that, time has come for us to consider restructuring the devolution structure that we have in this country. It is our firm belief that we over-devolved. 47 is, economically unsustainable, politically not viable, and it's about time we have use the experience, 15 years of experience, to review the devolution structure that we have so that we can then put into account our experiences to make sure that we are able to do that. And as I conclude, one very clear proposal that we are making is to reduce the number of devolved units. 47 is just too much. We need to reconsider that, either halving it at most, or maybe even having a minimum of 8, so that we can have more resources dedicated to service delivery, as opposed to paying 47 governors, paying 47 county assemblies, and all this, all those resources can be better channeled to provide services to the common mwananchi.
Great, thank you very much. I think one of the things you've highlighted is after 15 years, we need to come back and ask ourselves, how is it working? Now, I want to turn to another oversight agency, and this is NGEK, and ask, how would we translate this to national values? Because the ideal would be if good practice became norm and became a national value. You did a study not so long ago on national values and how counties are actually implementing that. Would you please speak to it very, very quickly?
Thank you, Jackie. Allow me to appreciate the panel. Unlike yesterday, it is a very inclusive panel. We have a 50-50 representation. As a commission, we were very concerned yesterday that out of all the speakers, we only had 2 female. That is, the first session had only Senator Muma, and I think the afternoon had only Governor Gladys Wanga. So I'd like to congratulate you today. Having said that, from National Gender and Equality Commission, of course, we are a constitutional commission established pursuant to Article 59(4) of the Constitution of Kenya. And our main mandate is to promote gender equality and to ensure freedom from discrimination. And therefore, we have worked closely with the county government. because out of our 16 mandate, as you have rightly put it, one of it is to ensure that the principles of equality and inclusion is adhered to by both the national and the county government. For a decade, we conducted monitoring, and therefore we noted gaps and gains. And I would like to put my presentation into three. I will start with the representation. In terms of representation, we have been having a progressive growth, especially in representation of female in county assemblies, where at least the basic minimum of 33.3% is met. However, there is no effort to increase the representation to 50. Therefore, we have an opportunity to do better. Also, in terms of representations of youth, progressively from 2017 to 2022, we have seen an increase of numbers of youth elected to county assemblies from 317 to 349 in 2022. Also, persons with disability, as Commission, we have noted that almost half the county assembly have representation of persons with with in the assemblies. And I would like to appreciate the governor of Siaya, is one of the counties with persons with disability in their assembly. Again, another indicator is protection of the vulnerables, especially women, from harmful cultural practices such as FGM, gender-based violence. Again, there is a progress. However, the gap is that we are seeing increase of femicide. Some counties are still practicing retrogressive practices such as FGM. Therefore, we have an opportunity to do better. Thirdly, we also audited in areas of access to services, especially public participation, which is a constitutional requirement. I think that is an avenue where we could do better as a counties. There is a report that it is more or less like a token or organized participation. Therefore, going forward, we would like to see citizens having a lot of say and participation. What do we do as National Gender and Equality Commission to ensure that all these values of Article 10 is adhered to? We do a lot of collaboration with counties. We support the CECs and MCAs to train them on the values of Article 10. We support the county government to develop policies. I think over 35% of counties have policies, gender-based violence policies, PWD inclusion policies, and other policies that is relevant to inclusion. Likewise, we also train the clerks of the National Assemblies to be more sensitive, especially when it comes to issues of budgeting, to ensure that the special interest group is protected. Thank you.
Thank you very much. What we are hearing is it's happening, but it could do better. One of the areas of inclusion you have highlighted is gender. But one of the most excluded is actually young women. Now, I have with me Ms. Bolo, who is the chairperson of Young Women Leaders Connect. What does it look like for young people? And what would you speak to the leaders on this panel on how best to include young people, especially young women?
Thank you so much for that. I think I'd like to start from the point on transparency and accountability that I think Senator Mbongatana spoke to. And it amazes me that every time there is a governor who has just come in, when you're in their meeting, the first thing you'll hear them say is, you know, when we came in, we didn't find structures. We are still putting up structures. And so very recently, after the 2022 election, our pain point was we cannot even ask for certain accountability because the response is then going to be, we have just finished putting up structures, so now is when we want to start working, 1, 2, 3 years down the line. And so what that does is, as young women specifically, when we want to put the governments to task, and even county assembly to task on certain things and certain issues, you can't get a response because they already have a defense mechanism of how they are going to respond to you. They also still don't have certain policies. It would come as a shock to many that up to now, we still have county assemblies that don't have a sexual harassment policy. It's only until recently that a number of them were still doing it. So as a young woman, when you're going to a member of county assembly, for example, to try and engage them on the issues on sexual harassment within your ward or within your area, how do you begin when they themselves don't even have a document that they can use in protecting you, a document that they can use when they are going into the county assembly? How do you begin that conversation? And so I think for young women, it starts from the point of dialogue. We do not have we don't have enough systems for dialogue. We don't have enough systems to even try and question the various legislators that are there. A lot of counties right now don't have working websites. Very recently, we were having a dialogue forum in one of the counties, and a young woman stood up and asked, why is it that we don't have a sexual harassment policy? And the member of county assembly in the county said, no, we have it. Go to the website and check. We actually have a lot of progressive gender bills that we are doing. You will find them on the website. But to their surprise, the website was not working. And so how do you follow up on the mechanism you have been sent to go and check on and contribute towards? I think the other issue is public participation is not, it is being done just to look like it has happened. So to talk about the structure of it, if I'm a young woman and I'm a lactating mother, it's going to be very difficult for me to get there because the environment is not suitable for young people, for young mothers. So you find that you will they don't have an area where they can say lactating mothers are free to sit here, or we are able to get minders for the young children. So what I'll do is I'll stay home. I will not go for that session. Then if you're maybe working, because look at most of the public participation forums are done during weekdays. So if I am working, then I'm not able to attend the public participation forum. I have to choose between making my bread or going to participate in decision making. So if we are able to incorporate civic participation, we have apps like Civic Voices that are able to tell people, these are the public participation forums that are happening, this is where it's happening, should you want to give your views, this is how you can give your views. That way, even if I'm not able to be there physically, I am able to at least follow up and see this is what people discuss and this is what has happened. And this is the areas that we can do better. I think another area is the relationship between senators and governors. A lot of times, if the senator and the governor are from the same party or from the same coalition, then very rarely will you hear oversight discussions. But if they are from different camps, then the excuse, especially from the executive, then becomes, I wanted to do A, B, C, and D, but the politics from the senator has stopped me. So again, that makes it also very difficult to question some of their gains and some of their losses, because then the issue becomes very political and moves away from what the tangible issue is. I think lastly is also to talk about the voices of young women. So when you go to, there are certain forums that we know are designated for the wazes, let me say, the traditional elders. We know women have the chamas, the jumuiya, but as a young woman, when you want to go to the chama, most of the time the women will tell you, you have your own duties as young women. Go and get your own caucuses as young women. And when you go to the areas where the youth are supposed to be socializing, then the men will not expect, the young men will not expect you to be there because that is their space. They want to dominate. So you find that young women fall through the cracks because then they don't exactly have a particular area where they can belong, where they can, voice out what some of their issues are.
Thank you very much. I think hearing that you've talked about policy, but you've also talked about many false starts, especially in inclusion of younger person. I want to turn to you, Council Okello. You have had very good practice in terms of reform, especially at the judiciary level. Are there lessons you can share very, very quickly in a minute or so that you could share that counties can borrow in terms of how to meaningfully achieve these rights for citizens? Very quickly, sir.
Thank you very much. You'll just give me a minute before I talk about the law and the judiciary, to talk about economics. In a minute, because we are talking about socio-economic rights, which is a very developmental term. My view, am I audible?
Yes.
Yeah. My view is that we'll only realize socio-economic rights if we satisfy two considerations. One, we must get the conceptual and philosophical basis of rights correctly. These are not gifts. They are at the center of human dignity. And that requires a major mental shift to embrace the very citizen-centric constitution that we have and not a state-centric constitution that we had before. So there needs to be a mental shift among duty bearers on the question of right within the context of Kenya in 2025. Then the second consideration is we must get the empirical and the strategic and the financial right. That's a second precondition. And what do I mean? Socioeconomic rights plays out on the fourth schedule, which is what Khalid was talking about. Devolved units are a major agent of realizing socioeconomic rights. And a lot of jurisprudence around the Bill of Rights has also emerged through contestations around devolution. Now, if we do not complete the transfer of functions to devolved governments, that process is incomplete, it's inchoate. And the best illustration is in health and agriculture. And I'll just give you two figures and one anecdote. So if we do not complete that transfer, and we also do not sufficiently support county government financially, then we are likely to face constant trouble with respect to socioeconomic rights. But also, if we do not have corresponding accountability that is robust, then it doesn't matter how much money you give to counties. The reason why I'm saying this is if you look at health, or if you look at overall allocation of sharing revenue, it has been declining. The national budget is increasing, the equitable share of revenue is declining. It was at 17.3% in 2022, it was at 15% in 23, 14% in 24, and 14.3% in 25. So the decline of the equitable share of revenue runs opposite to the increase in the total budget from 2.1 trillion in 2022 to 2.8 trillion. That's number one. Number two, and this is where the bigger story is. So first of all, we are below the constitutional threshold. But number two, if you look at the allocation to health and agriculture, which are effectively devolved functions, if you look at the fourth schedule, and those are the socioeconomic rights arena, that is where the real story is, and we should be worried about it. If you look at that data, since 2013, I did the math here. Since 2013, the total amount of money that has gone to agriculture is 851 billion. Counties have received 194 billion. National government, 657. So counties, agriculture is devolved, but they have received 23% of agriculture allocation. Health is 50-50, yet health is also largely devolved. That tells you that the incomplete nature of the transfer of functions to county government will continue to undermine the ability to realize socioeconomic rights. That's the first thing I wanted to say. Then on the judiciary transformation that you talked about, yes, this is a key institution, realization of rights. In 2011, when we came in, we had 16 high court stations in the whole country. Today, there are about 45 high court stations. We had 53 judges throughout the country. Today, we have 190 judges throughout the country. In this county, you had to go to Kisii to access a high court judge. For those who know this county, from Nyakach to Isibania, there was only one judge in Kisii. That has changed. We have judges here, we have judges in Migori, and so on and so forth. So we increased the number of judicial officers to just improve the access to justice. There are many other things that are going on which may help with inclusion and socioeconomic rights. One, if I may say very quickly, the Small Claims Court. It was set up almost 3 years ago. As of now, it has had 294,000 cases, which says that there was suppressed demand for justice. And for me, that is a frontier for work. Number two, we have the alternative justice system mechanisms that the Judiciary is rolling out, which is a very good alternative framework for resolving disputes quickly and in a cheaper manner. So very quickly, those are just two things that are happening in the judiciary that I think are key in helping realize socioeconomic rights at a very basic community level. Thank
you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, time is not on our side, so we need to be closing the panel. But I think hearing all that, I just wanted very quickly to ask Governor Orengo, what new practice would counties then adopt that would help in realization of these rights? Very quickly, sir.
I think, first of all, let me make a general comment about some of the things that have come up because they have been directed to counties. There should be no apology about accountability. That is a requirement of the Constitution. And Mr. Khalid, my friend, whenever you are oversighting counties, either as a government institution or a civil organization, that is provided in the Constitution, and you should not whine about it. And I want to remind Governor Mungatana that you have the tools. If I'm summoned by the Senate and I do not appear in the Senate has tools to punish any infractions to legitimate processes that are being conducted by the Senate, either as an oversight body or as a legislative body. But overall, I want to say devolution is the way forward. Whether you live in the west, the east, or south, or north, you would find that the most productive, successful countries are those who are devolved. Whether they are big or small, they could be as small as Switzerland, or as big as China, or as big as the United States of America. And what Mr. Okello has said, I think it's where the problem that we have in this country, that whereas we glorify devolution, but what we do really means that we are still not committed to it. If you take a country like the United States of America, if you take those states separately, California, New York, Illinois, they are an integral part of a bigger economy, but even on their own, they contribute greatly to the national economy and even to the world economy. So we should not have any doubts that the future is really with devolution. And in Kenya, the problem is that this national government is still not quite in tandem with the promises of this constitution that in order to bring power to the people, in order to take resources to the people. If you look at Chapter 11, you look at Article 174, it is the mechanism that the Constitution has established for taking power to the people and to take the resources to the people. And the tragedy is today, particularly on social and economic rights, as Mrs. Kelo has pointed out, the resources that should be going to the counties are mostly still with the national government. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me clap for the panelists who've done a very good job in the very tight time. What I've heard them say is accountability is non-negotiable. It is good practice, it's good manners. We must be accountable. We've also agreed that the Constitution is the foundation and we must mature it, we must respect it. They've said oversight is important and the oversight organs and tools need to be applied. But we've also said for this to happen and sustainability of development, we must be innovative and inclusive. Ladies and gentlemen, my sincere apologies. This would have been the best conversation if it lasted 5 hours because we needed to ask more questions, but we all overslept because this is Homabay, the home of fish. We had a little too much to eat and didn't make it too early. So thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. You can still ask the panelists when they come back the questions you may be holding. Thank you.
All right, so let's appreciate them once more. That is a great thought-provoking conversation there by Ms. Jackie Mbogo. She is the moderator as well as Chief of Party UK Aid Reinvent Program. We also had His Excellency Governor James Orengo, Governor Siaya County, Honorable Millie Grace Odhiambo, Member of Parliament for Suba North Constituency, Senator Honorable Danson Mungatana, Senator for Tana River County, Honorable Rehema Jaldesa, Chairperson, National Gender and Equality Commission, Mr. Hussein Hali, the CEO of Vocal Africa, as well as Council Duncan Okolo, Associate Director of the Kenya Judiciary Academy, and Ms. Ruth Bolo Okul, the Chairperson of the Young Women Leaders Connect. And as we always do, let's have them take a group photo for this second plenum. In the interest of time, we now move on to our side events happening in the designated breakout areas. Please check your program to see which sessions you'd like to attend. Here in the main hall, we have a session by the Digital Health Authority on the role of digitization in healthcare in promoting social equity, justice, and inclusion. If you want to be in that side event, do stay in the main hall. But a very important, something important to note that we will convene right here in the main hall at exactly 12:30 p.m. for a high-level session with our guest speaker, retired Honorable former Prime Minister Raila Odinga. It is a high-level session you do not want to miss, so please be back here and seated by 12:30 p.m. Good afternoon.